Why hello everybody, so welcome to another review as read. Today we'll be talking about Doom Brigade, the Chaos War series by Margaret, Weis and Perrin. And today we'll be going through the same process. We'll talk about the book, the cons, the pros, and a conclusion. So, basically this is a DragonLance novel. This is the Doom Brigade and it's the first book in the Chaos War series. And the Chaos War series is basically comes after the big event of the War of the Lands. And after that, some intervening events, and this is basically the big war that happens after. So, the Doom Brigade, what is it about? Doom Brigade is basically about Kang and his Draconians, who after the War of the Lands, they find their armies scattered and everything like that. And they just find this little place where it's far enough from everybody that they don't, people, the Slovenian knights and the dwarves of Tobardin and everything don't come to kill them. And they're basically just living out their lives to die. And how they deal with everyday problems as professional killers, soldiers, and people which basically have no females in their race, so they're literally just staying in a place to die. And how they have to logically live in a way, accept their situation and such. And some people want to know the logical things they had to do was not kill the dwarves across the valley who basically were providing them with food and alcohol and all. And so they had to raid them without killing them. And then there's strangely some mutual respect that comes from that. As, neighbors. And again, neighbors with big quotation marks. So yeah, that's basically what it's about. And also, of course, in that series of events, Kang and his Draconians find himself involved in the big events that lead up to the Chaos Wars. But that's actually not a huge part of the book. So let's go into the cons. The cons, of course, is if you look at this cover, you see Doom Brigade in big letters in all capitals, and you see the Draconians. It's misleading. And most of the book, like I said, is about Kang and his everyday life with the dwarves, and the dwarves finding the so-called map of treasure and such that leads towards the series of events to the Chaos Wars. But most of it is how they actually, most of it, at least with the Draconians, how they deal with everyday life. And how Kang leads them in leading this logical life that goes against their very nature sometimes. And also with the dwarf, where he finds the treasure map, and how he comes up with ideas to balance the situation to give himself the most profit. So it's basically a very thinky novel. You see people coming up with a series of thoughts to solve a problem. And so yeah, if you're thinking high adventure and all with this cover and all, you'll be either very disappointed or very surprised. Number two is basically the ending has it's predictable, but actually it's predictable, but it's not a big knock on this book. But like I said, it's something I said before about other books. But the ending, if you're a seasoned reader of fantasy novels, especially the older stuff, you expect what came in this one. But like I say, it's not that important in this book, and that leads into the pros of the book, which is basically, for me at least, it's so different that I really like this book. It almost feels like Margaret Weis or Perrin who started writing this huge high adventure book, but then the process of how Kang and his adventurers had to come up to live with this very strange sedentary life as settlers. As settled people, where they try to grow crops, they don't kill their wounded or crippled Draconians anymore and stuff like that, which is in their nature to do and stuff like this. That became such a much better story that you went with it, and it's literally almost the whole book. By the time they came up to the high fantasy stuff, to be honest, I didn't really even bother much about that. I wanted to read more about their lifestyle, how they keep solving their problems. Even the dwarf, how he comes up with ideas to double trick. Like where he actually leads. Okay, I won't spoil it, but basically he plays both sides and stuff like that. It's a fantastic story. And because it's so different, it's a very thinky novel. You see people slowly come to a conclusion through a very thought-provoking process. Like, okay, he gives the other side some views, he gives the other more popular side one view, and then he comes to a middle ground, or does he not go to a middle ground? And how they solve all these little problems along the way. And another pro of the book is the characters. They're very involved. They're not one-sided. Probably the most one-sided character is Kang, but that's not them, because he's actually, to me, a protagonist for a logical way to live. So to me, like with most characters who are so-called one-sided, I don't really mind it for him, because to me he's just like a symbol. All the other characters like Sequus the dwarf and stuff like that, they're basically an example of Sequus. He's a thief, he's mean, he's supposedly from the good dwarf race, but at the same time he cares for his friends in a very strange way. The draconians, or that they have this, some of them at least have a very begrudging respect for the dwarves, but then after that the dwarves also have begrudging respect for the draconians, but they also fear them and stuff like that. And everything comes to a very logical way. Like, the fears are founded, but do they want to take it to the next step of killing and burning the village of the other side, that kind of thing. So characters, you get really involved in them also. In fact, it's a book that when I picked up and every time I open, I find it very hard to put down. So in conclusion, it is a fantastic book. Most of the book is definitely not any big adventures and wars and fighting, but if you want a book that makes you think and you can see the slow process of how a person comes to a conclusion and make hard decisions, really, this is definitely a book for you. The Doom Brigade, the Chaos War series, Margaret Weis and Perrin. Definitely a recommended read. Till next word.